What's going on? Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon King and Pokemon Queen. Huge shout out to Makio and J Roses, who newly compiled. They made a brand new page for a ton of Generation 8 beta concepts, early versions of Sword and Shield. A lot of this information, I would wager, I'm pretty sure all of this information was discovered last year in the Terra Leak, but this is a brand new page by Makio and J Roses. And I want to dive into this because a lot of this stuff I have not seen before. I actually think a lot of this stuff people maybe haven't, like most people have not seen before at all. But there's new Pokemon described in here. There are pretty significant gameplay details. Like I said, the original working title for Generation 8 was Pokemon King and Queen. There's like new forms, there's like ancient forms, modern forms. There's a brand new Ireland was conceptual, or Ireland was originally intended to be, it seems, or conceptualized as part of the Galar region, which is crazy because obviously Ireland is not in Galar at all. I don't even think Scotland is truly represented in Galar. Galar was kind of scaled down to just England. So this is really cool stuff. I will not be able to get to everything in this video. I'm planning to do another video, probably a podcast on Hidden Power. That'll be like a 2-hour video diving into all of this. Hopefully that'll be with my co-hosts Hoops and Hip Hop and Soul Silver Art. But yeah, I kind of just want to get into this and see what I can kind of figure out. I'm like half reacting to this. But like I said, on this website, on pokédex.com, there's just way too much stuff. I will not be able to get to all of this. This is insane. This is kind of a first reaction. If something, I'm waffling, but if something warrants it, I'll probably go a little bit deeper onto this. Yeah, let's just start from the top. Okay, Project Rex was an early working concept for the Pokemon project that would eventually become Pokemon Sword and Shield. It predates Project Orion, the name used for the later and much more developed version of that project. Rex was never released as a game, and these files should not be read as a complete beta build. They are fragments of an early design phase, spreadsheets, presentations, setting notes, story documents, and later retrospective materials. And I guess I'll say, this is so cool. I do think a lot of this information, I've even been confused, over the years of when something new is presented, it's easy to quickly look at it and just assume, oh, this was something that was taken away from us in the final build of a game. And sometimes things are scrapped, but over the last year, I've been developing not real games, not real Pokemon games, but game concepts. I've been doing my own sorts of world building, working with other talented people, and the list of ideas is endless. And the challenge is always shrinking that down and then refining those ideas into something that actually is worth putting out. And I guess I do appreciate Pokédex mentioning this. The writers here saying that these are fragments of an early design phase. This is just it's truly just concepts, right? It's not like these Pokemon were created and then taken away, but they were conceptualized. And we'll get into it. Like I said, there's a ton of Pokemon. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool Pokemon concepts and types of like regional forms. Let's keep reading. One of the clearest signs of how early this material is the project branding. Rex era notes refer to the two versions as Pokemon King and Queen. The project later moved through Orion and was ultimately released as Pokemon Sword and Shield. Let's see this. Okay, so here's an image right here. I want to say, yeah, this. Okay, no, this actually totally makes sense. Can I zoom and enhance here? Yeah, we can zoom and enhance. This, can I? Yeah, I can drag it. This image right here is the Giant's Causeway. Is that really what it's called? Giant's Causeway. Yeah, the Giant's Causeway, nature preserve in North Ireland. Toby was telling me about this. But this really unique coastal rock formation is what inspired. I think you can see a better picture right here. They're what is it? They're like hexagons. These rock patterns form as hexagons, and this is what was actually the inspiration for the Dynamax dens, like the parts of the dens that you can see at the surface in Galar. It was based on this specific rock formation in Ireland, which is kind of cool, especially now that we're, being shown that originally Ireland was supposed to be part of this, and that's pretty awesome. An idea here that they write, right? This is a translation, I would imagine, from notes from Game Freak. It says through coevolution. This is insane. I'll probably have to make a whole video on this. Through coevolution, Pokemon, quote, go giant. What does that even mean? What? I mean, go giant is probably... Okay, let's keep reading. Go giant is probably... It's got to be Gigantamax. But the coevolution? What is that? Pokemon are no longer something that fits neatly small, like in a pocket. Okay, yeah, they become big. A giant legend passed down in Northern Ireland. Great. Okay, so this is... Okay, Northern Ireland is part of England, so that would make sense. Politically, geographic, like whatever. Okay, there is a Pokemon called the Most Fearsome One that went through 7 stages of evolution. Wow. Damn, its form was as large as a mountain. It absorbs many Pokemon and keeps growing giant. I love how they're describing this. This is like, not really lore, because it's not canon. This is just concept stuff, but this is really cool to think about. I've seen YouTube videos. Shout out to Ron. True Green 7. I've seen videos where people are like, I've seen videos by him where he's like, what if a Pokemon keeps evolving and continues to evolve? And now all of a sudden this idea is not so foreign. That's so cool to think about Gigantamax being like, what if a Pokemon was thousands of years old and evolved 10 times to become that big? Like a Digimon. That's cool. That power is immense, turning all wild Pokemon. It is the power to dominate and control, to the point of affecting other regions as well. It breaks the balance of power, not coevolution, but one-sided evolution. Interesting. So it would be a super heavyweight Pokemon that upsets the balance of evolution, reform, or conservation. For what purpose is that power used? The composition of giant versus group, monotheism versus polytheism, Christ and the Celts. Overlay the image with Britain, which gained one-sided dominance through the Industrial Revolution. Okay, so they're getting... it really just reads like notes. And I guess this is something that we do see. And also, something I meant to say earlier, I think this is all stuff that we could, like... Any idea here that would be worth salvaging or could still make sense with the final product and world building and lore in Sword and Shield has the potential to be resurrected and returned and brought into a Pokemon Legends Galar game. If the next Pokemon Legends game is indeed based in the Galar region, right? Which it could be because that was in the Terra League. Like we learned that on Game Freak's roadmap, Legends Galar will be the next Legends game. A lot of these ideas could make their way, or even just lore, right? Could make their way back into the game. I love this idea of multiple stages of evolution. That's really cool. Let's see. What makes Rex worth looking at is that several ideas that later shaped Generation 8 are already there in rough form. The project imagines a Britain-inspired region, Pokemon that can become enormous, a conflict around growth and power, and a provisional list of 100 Pokemon. But the main battle gimmick is not Dynamax or Gigantamax. It is more unusual systems called coevolution, in which several Pokemon temporarily cooperate to make one of them stronger. That idea is important enough to deserve its own section below. Interesting. So, also in some of the information, and I wonder if Machios and J Roses are going to write about it here in this article, but in Pokemon Legends Galar, the early concept for that game is that you will basically fight Gigantamax Pokemon in the overworld with multiple of your Pokemon. Like 20 Pokemon will unite to overthrow this giant Pokemon, which is kind of cool. I think about like Pikmin in that way. Like it sounds like Pikmin, but it says individual A, so Pokemon A and Pokemon B, they're weak individually, But, and then which direction would this be going in? Individual B, weak individual, hold on. Individual A, or Pokemon A and Pokemon B can go through coevolution, and then individual A has parasitism, maybe takes the energy or gives energy to individual B, which is the host body, and it goes giant. Through coevolution, they become powerful as individuals. It's like helping hand, I guess. Yeah, I'm not understanding this. Individual A, parasitism, individual B, host, and then when you capture it, you capture, or individual A is in the Pokeball, but individual B stands. Oh, what? I don't know if I totally understand this. Rex then changes direction and later documents the region is called Dine, and the project is referred to as Orion. The world becomes more focused on sports, gyms, public spectacle, and a more universal giant Pokemon system. By the time the finished games arrive, the system has become Dynamax, Gigantamax, and Max Raid battles. The point of this article is to not claim that every Rex note turned directly into a final feature, but to follow the process of simplification and redesign. This is really, really cool. Yeah, so right here, I'm kind of glazing over this, but like right over here, this is an early depiction. This has been out now for like a year of early concept for Gigantamax Nidoking. And let's see right here. And for those who don't know, I recreated this in 3D. You can see this right here. I made a game trailer for Pokemon Legends Galar. I'm working with a really talented artist, multiple talented artists, to kind of like make these 3D trailers to depict what this could look like. So we've seen this. Like this is what it could look like in a Pokemon Legends Galar game, or this is what this Pokemon could look like. A Gigantamax Nidoking could look like if it was in Sword and Shield. I think this is such a cool design, and you can see that it has the energy of Eternatus, which is kind of cool. All right, this is really, really sweet. Yeah, so some of this information is from 2024, or it says the material discussed here consists of authentic internal production documents, that were leaked during the Terra leak. I kind of want to skip ahead now because there's this next section talks about the reconstructed development timeline, and I think we can kind of I can come back to this, but I kind of want to hit some of these highlights. We're like over 10 minutes into this video. This is really cool. We've got some concept art here of the first starting town, and it does look like Scotland. It looks like the Highlands. It kind of actually looks like maybe Ireland even, with the rolling hills and the Wooloo. Really, really stunning. I love that they're starting their adventure, the main character, with a Stoutland. That's a really underrated Pokemon. We got, the Project Rex, the first concept. We can talk more about coevolution. And then before I end this video, I will talk about the starter Pokemon, the new Pokemon. I'll brush over the new Pokemon. I think I might need to make a full separate video on that, but I will talk about them. Let's dig into coevolution here. This is, again, translations from the Terra League. These are internal Game Freak notes. Theme, coevolution. One of the evolutionary theories Darwin conceived. Okay, this is going to send me because this is what we might see in Generation 10, to be quite honest. One of the evolutionary theories Darwin conceived, the idea that evolution doesn't happen in a single individual, but proceeds through mutual influence. A giraffe's neck is long because there are tall trees. Oh, this is cool. Evolution proceeds only after each side balances and reaches equilibrium with the other. Oh, this is cool. A single one never evolves alone. Change is always accompanied by balance. This sounds like the Force. I really do like this take on this, because I even think about evolution as like an individual's quest. But it is true. The individual only changes because of what's around it. This is really cool stuff. Coevolution among Pokemon, depending on the combination, an evolution greater than any single one could trigger occurs. An evolution is possible only as a group. Super gigantism evolution. That is precisely the power to change the world, right? An individual, not even an individual, but I guess I do like this dynamic as well. It's like you have a king and its subjects. That is kind of cool. And it's like you have this giant Pokemon that is backed, right? It represents the king, the crown, and is backed by all this power. But the people can rise up together. Coevolution is change in order itself. Space-time and matter are co-evolving. Supermassive black holes and galaxies co-evolve. This is sick. All right, we got... Ooh, okay. Interesting. The practical version that was super type. What is this? The practical version is surprisingly specific. The player would catch the component Pokemon separately, then throw their Pokeballs one at a time to build the group needed for the transformation. The documents even imagine two-player cooperative play around the system, supporting Pokemon could pass their type to the host. A fire Pokemon supported by another fire Pokemon might produce a super type, described as a stronger or double version of the type. Very cool. The host and the supporting Pokemon would still be separate Pokemon. This is not a permanent fusion mechanic. It is closer to a temporary team transformation where the composition of the group matters as much as the individual Pokemon at the front. So we got super type. Depending on the Pokemon, some Pokemon combine two attributes such as fire plus 2. We call this the super type. New individuality and strategies are born. This is reminding me of the seed Pokemon. We were just talking about this on the podcast, of this idea for Gen 10 that was leaked, this idea of a seed Pokemon being able to evolve an infinite amount of times. And part of that was that we talked about types stacking, or like being able to customize what that Pokemon evolves into. And part of that was stacking types. The same files also mention removing Mega Evolution and Z moves in favor of a new universal Pokemon-wide system. That is what we got with Gigantamax. Regional forms as partial Gigantism, like Alolan Executor. Strategic wild battles in which the player reads the behavior of groups of Pokemon. A 2-player RPG structure. That's cool. Like multiplayer RPG. That's fun. A temporary giant state that can also appear on enemy Pokemon. A giant state that can also appear on... I guess that's just Gigantamax. I was thinking about Eternamax, Eternatus, and how it's like a boss. It's an enemy Pokemon, but you can't catch it. It does say, though, a catchable giant Pokemon after the player wins the encounter. Okay, so we got all this. The giant Pokemon system. All right. This is interesting. Ooh, this is interesting. The 18 type-based giants. The provisional Pokemon list contains 18 giant entries, one for each type. These are not final species names. They are a roster roles, a giant normal, a giant fire, etc., representing an entire layer of the region's ecosystem. And what's interesting is that they're called... The age group is designated, and I think we can get into that later, but they're called the Ancient Age. Like, each of these Pokemon have a type, right? They have like a category for what type they would represent, what role they would fill, but they're called the Ancient Age. Let's scroll down. Oh my god, no, it goes deeper. The 8 biological groups. We're going to have to come back to this. The 8 bones, Giant Kaiser and the 8 bones are a mythological and progression layer of the same idea. They're described as mythology. I'll have to get into this on the podcast. This is way too deep. And I'll leave a link in the description for you guys to read this. All right, let's talk about some Pokemon. Important Pokemon. The Rex concept is also built around a player card structure, so playing cards. King, Queen, Ace, and Joker. King, Queen, and Ace. The King and Queen are the 2 central package legendary roles listed as Fighting and Dragon and Psychic and Dragon, and described as modern age rulers. Ace is a 3rd package legendary with a steel and dragon typing, and a champion or older rival role. These labels connect the virgin pair in the legendary mythology and the wider theme of power and authority. That's cool. So you pick a king or a queen, but the ace is, the rival, the champion. That would be Leon in this regard. And then the Joker, just kind of messing everything up, right? The earliest legendary is fairly direct. A Pokemon king finds blazing metal or energy in a fissure, consumes it, right? Oh, that's cool. like thematically, that's sick. That's like being tempted by the ring, right? The corruption, power corrupts, absolutely. Consumes it, grows into a tyrant, and destroys the harmony of the land. This is what Eternatus is. 3 other Pokemon use wisdom, courage, and trust to calm it. Divide its remains into 8 bones and bury them. Okay, this is just Harry Potter now. Another passage describes the largest Pokemon as having 8 stages and becoming mountain-sized after absorbing many other Pokemon. That creature is Joker. In the provisional list, Joker is the most fearsome, strongest, and largest Pokemon with an 8-stage evolution. Oh my god. So this is like Gigantamax incarnate. And again, I do think I think we kind of got this with Eternatus. Eternatus is this like skeleton of a Pokemon. And it is all about corruption. It is the source of Dynamax. So I think we did get a version of this, but the scattering of the bones is not quite there. But I like this idea. This is actually making me want to play with my own concept for my Legends Galar lore. Like what, the story of Calyrex 1,000 years in the past. Maybe I need to work something in where it was corrupted, and it needed to be purified in some way. This is really cool. One surviving version gives its height of 300 meters. Another says it's 100 meters, so the contradiction should remain visible. Joker is the dark version of the coevolution idea. Evolution has become one-sided, and strength has turned into authority. Its enormous scale and calamity role make Eternatus an interesting possible echo, especially because both concepts occupy the space of a gigantic endgame threat that is only a thematic comparison. However, the document do not identify Joker as Eternatus, but I think that's because Eternatus probably wasn't conceptualized back then. It turns into that. This is really, really cool. Okay, so we got some new Pokemon here. We talked about this a little bit, but I think what's also interesting, again, and maybe I overlooked it, but each of these Pokemon are classified as either New Age, Middle Age, or Ancient Age. So the King and the Queen are New Age. They're younger. These are the legendary box art legendaries. It's fun. They call it like the package legendary here, but this would be a modern age ruler archetype. Kind of interesting also, like the Generation 10 rumors or the early concepts for Generation 10. It says that the box arts are going to be a male or female, kind of like a patriarch or a matriarch. But the King and the Queen are New Age. The King is fighting a dragon. The Queen is psychic and dragon. I like that. You have brutality versus wisdom. I like that. Not brutality, but like strength. You have strength and wisdom that's the dichotomy between these two. The ace is the sword, right? The weapon, right? That's the thing that can maybe kill the King of the Queen or overcome the King of the Queen. But they're all dragon type, which is cool. And then you've got the Ancient Age. The ace is, by the way, is the Middle Age, but the Joker, this is the Eternatus, the early Eternatus, or the villain, is Ancient Age. It's been around forever, and it's dark and dragon type. And I wonder if this is so interesting. I wonder if like did this king, because the King and the Queen, I don't think those really become Zacian and Zamazenta, but like, did the king become Calyrex? Did Urshifu become the Joker? I'm just trying to think if any of this maybe carried over. But there is mention of new Pokemon, the Sword and Axe. Man, there's a lot of new Pokemon here. I am going to have to do another video on Ireland. We got the weapons Pokemon. The weapon motif was already present in Rex. The provisional roles include sword, axe, shield, and armor, alongside further equipment like concepts such as rune, hammer, and knuckle. Sword is associated with a Cambrian period king and an Enamalacarid motif. What is that? I can't. I'm trying to type this out. I can't highlight it. Oh shoot, what did I do? Oh my, there's so many new Pokemon. We're going to have to cover this. This is insane. There's so much stuff. Hold on. I want to know what this is. Oh, you know what? It says it right here. So this type of motif The Cambrian. Okay. The sword is associated with the Cambrian period king in this type of motif. An axe with a Permian period king. Oh, no, I'm all confused. I'm sorry. The sword. Okay, there's a sword king, and then the axe Pokemon is. I gotta look all this up. The Permian period king. There's something else here. The armor Pokemon with a robot and an armored kaiju idea. That's fun. That's cool. That makes sense. These concepts do not map cleanly onto Zacian, Zamazenta, or any of the final species, but they show that the sword and shield language did not appear from nowhere in the finished game. This is cool. Sword is Ancient Age. Axe is Ancient Age. The rune, the hammer, the shield are monsters. Head, armor, and knuckle. No, head and armor are kaiju. And the head is actually deemed to be water and dragon. A giant fish or kaiju head concept. The armor is a robot. And then the knuckle is a monster. Oh, that... Okay, so there's ancient... This is cool. There's modern. There's all these new types of Pokemon. New Pokemon... Sorry, New Age, Middle Age, Ancient Age, Monster, Kaiju. This is so interesting because I guess what I'm trying to think here is like... Is this what defines the Gigantamax? Because something that I have noticed is like a lot of the Gigantamax Pokemon, some of them feel ancient, but some of them do feel like modern. Yeah, like they can only exist in the last 100 years. Some of the Gigantamax Pokemon, like Garbodor, right, Garbodor. It has like toys in it, and Lapras. Well, Lapras is this like ancient beast. It looks like a cruise ship, you know? So that doesn't make any sense. And then we've got the Rex region. I'm going to have to make another video about this. This is insane. That we got the Rex region, the 3 historical environments. Oh, here it is. This is what it is. Okay, so these are environments. These are environments. Okay. The 3 historical environments, the New Age, the Middle Age, and the Ancient Age are different environments. That's Scotland, England, and Ireland. Okay. Which one is Scotland? That is Middle Age. It doesn't say here. All right, I'm going to have to look into this. 8 challenges, the Knights in the Order. Provisional Rex story, the Provisional Rex Pokédex. Dude, there's a dog fire starter. Oh my god. Rabbit grass water starter. I'm going to have to talk about this. This is insane. We talked about some of these Pokemon already. There's a bunch of regional forms from the Middle Ages. There's a grasshopper Pokemon, mantis, squirrel. Some of these we already got. The golden egg bird. Holy cow. This is crazy. Yeah, look at it's. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of flabbergasted right now. The dogs are too. They're freaking out. Let me know if you want me to talk more about this. I'm probably gonna do another video. This might even. This is cool. I know some of this information has been floating, but this stuff is always difficult to get a hold of and organize. And I just want to give a big shout out to Pokeos for taking care of this. I think my Amazon package is here. Look at that. We have the entire story of Orion, the pitch, the product pitch. Dude, this is stunning. Oh, there's smartphone linkage. I forgot about that with secret bases, the giant Pokemon and the co-op battles. Look at this. We haven't looked at any of this, and we're going to need to. Look at this concept art. Oh, this is so much fun. This is like the early concept for Pokemon Camp. This is crazy. This is crazy. Look at this. Yeah. Subscribe if you want more coverage of this. I probably will make another video. I think I'm going to have to talk to Toby about this. We might have a whole conversation about the Ireland region. I think that's just too tough. Excuse me. Guys, I'm working right now on I'm developing an entire Pokemon fantasy map. I've been working on it for a couple months, and I've got main channel videos, big videos, for that are all in development and will be coming out. I'm hoping to start rolling those out in about a month. I'm just building up the catalog, but it's like a big collaborations, new Fakemon, original Fakemon, new game concepts. There's some cool new Pokemon Legends concepts that I'm working on. And the big vision is I'm working towards fleshing out what the entire Pokemon world looks like. We never see this in every other Pokemon. In every other fantasy like fandom and world, there is a map. And Pokemon has never given us the entire map. And so I love seeing stuff like this. I'm going to have to do a new video. It's been a half hour. Thank you. If you're still listening right here, go check out another video or subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon. And let me know what you think about Pokemon Rex and Project Orion.